the NeverEnding Orgy, Fantasia was yearning for Backshots to return to the wonderful and enchanting world of human fantasy. The young man had a hard-on for saving this realm in the past, and this time would be no different. The only difference was that Fantasia was suffering from a surplus of Erotica and Poonchild, and all the residents of this land were horny as fuck. Backshots picked up the mythical book and opened it to the first page upon hearing the voice of Poonchild beckoned him to do so.
Backshots, we need your dick.
Adaboy was the hero of the world, who was the mirror image of Backshots in the world of Fantasia, and the Purple Bungalow was steamy with promise for the young man in his own respects. The reason why there was so much tension and apprehension in Fantasia, on top of everything else, was how Molesticleese was stalking Poonchild and trying to engage in sexual activity with the Childlike Temptress of the land. Backshots began reading the NeverEnding Orgy when he suddenly became sucked into the story itself. He ended up outside the Purple Bungalow, where his first impression was to knock on the door. Knock, knock, knock. Cockbiter was sitting on the mountaintop nearby and hollered at Backshots.
Backshots, nobody's home. A strange disgusting has swept over the land, and Adaboy has taken on a quest to find an answer for it.
Backshots was startled to hear Cockbiter talking, as usually he was too busy sucking cocks to have any time for any verbal dialogue. Cockbiter, where can I find Adaboy? Cockbiter pointed to the horizon, where in the distance the ivory dildo could be seen standing erect in all its gigantism. Oh, but of course, the ivory dildo. Backshots walked for what seemed like the length of a portal movie until he got to the entrance of the ivory dildo, where shockingly he spotted Adaboy's horse, Fuckfest, standing outside, scratching his balls and grazing on the aphrodisiacs outside. There were several Fantasians getting it on in the encampment. Backshots entered the ivory dildo, where he encountered Adaboy having sex with the racing snail. Backshots cried out to Adaboy, "Adaboy, we don't have time for this. We have to stop the disgusting from ruining Fantasia." Adaboy looked surprised to see Backshots and responded, "Backshots, I just need to clean the pipes before I continue on my quest to stop Molesticleese." Soon after, Adaboy and Backshots regained their camaraderie and headed towards the swamps of passion to seek out Ova, the racy one. She was a giant turtle that knew everything about the sexuality of Fantasia and could quote the Book of Kama Sutra word for word if you asked her to. Fuckfest ended up drowning in a pool of semen upon arriving in the swamps of passion because he couldn't control his horniness, which was a consequence of becoming enthralled by the swamps of passion. That was okay, because later on they would get a fuck dragon to replace him with. Ova the racy one was a hard creature to summon, but if you moaned just the right way, she often rose up from her slumber and acknowledged you. Ooh. Ova looked a little annoyed when she finally rose up.
Who dares interrupt my wet dream?
Adaboy put his hand on Backshot's chest, as though to say he had this. Ova, it is I, Adaboy. I seek your knowledge and wisdom about the disgusting and what we need to do to stop it. Ova didn't cooperate at first, but once Backshots slipped his thumb up her butt, she seemed to be more willing to tell the young men about the southern nympho, who did have the answers they sought. Molesticleese was, of course, a scary-looking beast that would stop at nothing to not only engage in debauchery with Poonchild, but also have his way with Adaboy and Backshots. But fortunately, right before he could lunge at them, the fuck dragon showed up and rescued them both. The fuck dragon, also known as Fucker, traveled pretty much the full 10,000 miles to take the young men to the southern nympho, where where after a series of sexual challenges, the two young men were able to stand before the southern nympho in all her topless glory and ask her what they needed to do to stop the disgusting.
The Childlike Temptress needs a new chastity belt.
After a couple more sexual activities, Adaboy and Backshots confronted Molesticleese and stabbed him with a dildo after he tried to explain the meaning of human procreation. Shortly after, right before it seemed like the disgusting was going to take over Fantasia, they ended up at the Ivory Dildo, where Backshots offered Poonchild a brand new chastity belt.
Thank you, Backshots and Adaboy. This should keep things prim and proper from here on in. Sorry for all the sleaziness. The truth is, even we get a little hot and heated from time to time.
Poonchild kissed Backshots and Adaboy very gently and innocently, as though to imply that this sultry chapter of the never-ending story was over, and the never-ending orgy was no more. The end.